You've joined us for the last race of the season. Will you be back next year?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'm going to do the full season next year. It's been a great weekend, done all 4 races this weekend. It's been tiring, good experience, but no, it's been absolutely fantastic. Loved it, absolutely loved it.
Gavin, what's been the highlight of your season?
Highlight of the season, going into Paddock Hill Bend, I think, in the gravel trap at the DTM round, or the GP round. I think that's probably the highlight. First time in the gravel trap ever, so you've got to highlight something of the year. It's Brands Hatch, Paddock Hill, in the gravel.
David, you're back for the final round of the season. How are you enjoying it?
Yeah, good, very good. Not quite in the best weather, but hey, we'll have some fun.
And if you could pick one highlight from this year, what would it be?
A1 GP.
It's time now for the very last Lotus on Track Elise Trophy race of 2008. It's the B and C and the 211 cars, and the track is really slippery, so fingers crossed everybody keeps it on the black stuff.
Well, it's going to be an absolutely action-packed race for sure with all these different classes. Sadly, though, Gary Broad won't be able to take up his pole position because of the accident he had in the earlier race that we saw. So the man we just heard from, David Skeggs, effectively starts from pole. In top 10 times a reverse, and then after that we see guys like Rob Bevis and see Andy Dolan, who of course we've seen racing already, Chris Headlam in his 340R. Doug Setchers has been a regular in the series throughout the season. Further down, Nigel Ayres, hopefully having a better run than he did earlier on, and at the back we see Stuart Kirkbride. The lights are on, very, very challenging conditions. As we've already said, it's going to be a real difficult job getting the cars off the line. All rear-wheel drive, but it does look like it's the 211s that have got the best of the starts. I think it is. That man Gavin Kirby, who we've seen being so quick at times throughout the season, he's just about got the drop from the other of the 211s at the front there. That's Paul Bateman. See that very distinctive, luminous car. That's Chris Baker coming through in the other Class C car. Martin Donnelly, though, the former Grand Prix driver, around the outside in the Full Speed Racing FSR car run by, of course, Mark Speller and the team there. He looks like he's got a good run out of Graham Hill Bend. Very difficult to see, even with the light reflecting off the circuit there, and it does look like perhaps, I think, Bateman has done it. Yes, he has got himself into the lead. A really good run out of Graham Hill Bend. Just about gets himself past Kirby. Now the 3 211s are working their way ahead of the rest of the pack. Are they going to be able to break away? Such dramatic looking cars. Slight difference in lines being used there by the 2 drivers at the head there, but it does look like it is in fact Donnelly who's got a better run of the 3 of them there. He seems to have got himself alongside, and I think he may be able to work himself from 3rd to 1st in effectively one manoeuvre. What a tremendous piece of overtaking, showing his experience. He's got a fast car and a very fast driver, and difficult conditions. He's worked into his hands in the background. We've seen Chris Randall, a man who's been absolutely superb this season, working his way through now into a podium position. Cars behind them all sort of scrapping hard. Was that contact? I think maybe Bateman got sideways there. And behind them I think it was Conor Finn in the silver car that was pushing very, very hard. Don't know if there was contact, but it certainly was spectacular. And it looks like Randall now, yes, Randall has got himself past Kirby, worked himself up into 2nd position. Now the trick is, can he get his head down, get away and start to get on terms with Martin Donnelly, or has the Northern Irishman done enough to break away at this stage, at this very early stage in the race? The spray hangs in the air, always difficult this time of year because there's just not enough heat in the sun to dry out the circuit. There are a lot of cars travelling very, very quickly, and they're going to start to gradually improve the conditions. David Skeggs, the 82 car there, the man who started on the front row, working past Kirby as well, and I think, yes, he has. Andrew Walsh has got himself ahead now. Kirby just seems to be just getting himself in a position where he can't quite work with these guys to stay ahead, but looks like he maybe has toughed it out around the outside of Walsh. Is he going to duck back down? No, he doesn't. Very intelligent and very thoughtful driving there from Gavin Kirby. Certainly didn't put himself into a position where he's going to get some contact. We've seen that happen already this weekend. Skeggs, though, now under pressure from Walsh. Walsh, we know just how fast this guy can be. He's going to come from the very back of the grid at Alton Park in a handicap race to just nick a win. And that shows you the class of the guy and the class of the cars. Now, interestingly, both Andrew Walsh and Chris Randall have seen running in Class C for the majority of the season for this weekend, in line with some regulation changes going into 2009. Oh, changing the subject, look, that's Gavin Kirby and Steve Williams. Well, we heard from Gavin Kirby saying his highlight of the season was ending up in the gravel at Paddock Hill Bend in race 1. Well, he's topped and tailed the season identically, but poor Steve Williams, who was so quick earlier on at Silverstone, Don't know whose fault that one was, but the two of them obviously out of the race, immediately out. We see there Dolan coming through and Vital Chuan, and I'm sure that that's going to cause some yellow flags down at Paddock Hill Bend. We may even see a safety. Yes, we've seen a safety car, and that's going to close the pack back up. That's going to put the initiative back now with Chris Randall and Andrew Walsh. David Skeggs, of course, also the Connor Finn in the silver cars has had a good run. Ben Pitch, we've seen be quick, and that was the man that was very fast at the start of the race there. Paul Bateman in the 211. Safety car lights are off. Donnelly just backing them up a little bit. Very experienced, very, very sensible driving. Guns the car as they now come out of clearways. He's just broken away a little bit. I think he knew that perhaps because of the fantastic level of power that those two cars behind have got, he needed to just get himself away a little bit so that he didn't get out braked into Paddock. Looks like Walsh is trying the brave long way round. Well, it's very slippery on that green painted tarmac on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. And that gives a gap there to David Skeggs, who's seen the scrap going on in front of him and has just nipped through. Brilliant piece of opportunity overtaking from Skeggs. But look at Randall coming back, gets alongside early and round the outside. Walsh, well, these three guys have certainly ended the season as we've seen. Oh yeah, look behind them. Connor Finn in the silver car is watching the action. He's looking to get a run on some of them. I think he's got to the inside of Skeggs, but Skeggs just dives across the front of him. Hard but fair driving from all of these guys there. And you can really look, as you see, right on board, the challenge he's got. Listen, just balancing the throttle coming out of clearways. So difficult to get the power down with these conditions like this. Chris Baker there in that very distinctive car that we saw a little bit earlier coming through and having a bit of a scrap with Paul Patterson, just about getting himself ahead. There's no danger of missing that car for sure today. That's one of the good things about that. Meanwhile, Ben Pitch, the 78 car, really fast at Cadwell Park earlier this season, so maybe he likes the MSV circuits, the Jonathan Palmer run tracks, and he's now scrapping hard with Skeggs. Skeggs seemed to have dropped away a little bit from that battle between Walsh and Randall. Meanwhile, Andy Dolan and Mike Davis in the A-class cars. We did heard from Gemma at the start. Oh, another of the spinners there. That is Connor Finn in the 65 car. He was running so well. And just shows you how easy it is with these conditions just to drop a wheel a little bit wide maybe. Easily done. That's what happened to cost Gary Broad a race win earlier on. Oh, sideways from Ben Pitch. Well, that's how we like to see our drivers drive. A little bit of spectacular action. I'm sure that focused his attention. Meanwhile, Randall now looking ahead, and there's, oh, what's happening? Oh, somebody's run wide there and just stopped. That's Vital Chuan. Had such a great run earlier, and he caused Chris Randall to physically stop, engage reverse and drive past. Well, that's certainly an unusual situation. Meanwhile, Martin Donnelly now coming up just to put a lap on Chris Baker. Very patiently does it, looks around the outside, the blue flags being waved, contact though, and I think that's Nigel Ayres, and maybe getting a little bit of a bang into from Simon Phillips, that was, who just clattered into the side of him. So typical racing accident, understandable perhaps in these conditions. The action though at the front is back on again, and we see now as a result of his little reversing, well, a three-point turn, not really a normal thing to have to do in the middle of a motor race, and as a result that Randall now back in a scrap with Ben Pitch. Meanwhile, Chris Headlam in the distinctive 340R is now under a bit of pressure from a recovering Connor Finn after that very spectacular spin that we saw a little bit earlier on. And Paul Bateman now is going to feel the pressure from those two cars. Not ever going to see two more dramatic cars, as you saw dramatic driving from Headlam. Well, he's certainly enjoyed his season this year. Meanwhile, it is back on at the front now. Martin Donnelly has got big pressure from Andrew Walsh. Walsh trying to do what he did earlier on to Chris Randall and drive around the outside. Not really on though, I don't think. Certainly Donnelly just braked late enough, and he's very, very intelligent positioning the car, just running the car out a little bit so that Walsh hasn't got a gap to work with. Meanwhile, Randall is now back, scrapping harder than ever with Skeggs. Skeggs driving brilliantly defensively into Paddock Hill Bend. Very fairly looking, means that Chris Randall's run a little bit wide, and that's put the initiative back with Ben Pitch, who's trying now every which way to get around the outside, running out of time towards the end of the race, but a fantastic drive from all of these guys at the front of the pack. But it does look like it is going to be Martin Donnelly rounding out the season for Mark Spiller's team, Full Speed Racing, win at Brands Hatch, the final round of Lotus on Track for 2008. Donnelly wins it from Andrew Walsh just. Chris Randall ends up on the podium from Skeggs Pitch, Connor Finn, Rob Bevis, Chris Headlam, Paul Bateman and David Harvey round out the top 10. Class B, Walsh, Randall and Skeggs. Class C, Martin Donnelly and Chris Baker. And the 211 class, the only finisher was Paul Bateman. Very, very happy guys on the podium. Fantastic job from all of them this season.
Surely that was great fun.
Yeah, it was a bit of fun. There was certainly some tussling to be had. I mean, I thought I was going to end up third. Walshy and Martin were quicker than me, simple as that. But then I got caught up with a couple of back markers who sent me nearly off the track, which really made it hard work. A couple more people to pass, which was, fun on the way through.
Andrew, looked pretty slippery out there, but you certainly held it together well.
Yeah, I love the wet. Starting from the back, coming through all the grid, going past Chris, great fun.
Great end to the season, eh?
Yeah, marvellous. To be a big boy, Donnelly just swapping places a few times, even if he didn't pass the car.
Martin, you really held that race and made it your own, especially after the safety car went in.
Well, I got a good start. I was surprised how quickly I got into the lead. I almost got squeezed in the barrier to start here, but there was accusations about having a faster car. I just like to think it's down to good looks and talent myself, but I've obviously found it difficult to cope with. But again, thank you to all the marshals and to those on track and Paul Golding, who I made today very special, not for me, but for everybody competing in the on-track series.
It's been a great year, hasn't it?
Really good, and I just hope that we encourage more guys to come back out. It's very cost effective, it's good fun, and everybody buys their beer at the bar afterwards.
A cold and slippery surface Brands Hatch today certainly made for an awesome close to the 2008 Lotus on Track Elise Trophy. Join us next year for an early season review, and until then, we'll see you next time. Goodbye.